You might not realize it, but you make economic decisions all the time. These decisions are about what to buy and what not to buy. You can eat out at the restaurant, but you can also use that money to go to the cinema. This might not be conscious, but you do make this decision at the back of your mind. The decision is based on the satisfaction the choice gives divided by its price. This is called the utility. A utility is just a measure of the satisfaction of an individual. This is different per individual. If going to the cinema gives you a high utility, this does not mean that it gives me a high utility as well. Do you know what gives me a high utility? You liking this video and subscribing to my channel if you've learned something today after watching this video. If you chose to go to the cinema, this might have given you a high satisfaction. But if you go a second time, you don't get the same satisfaction. If you go a third time, you will not get the same satisfaction as the second time. This concept is called decreasing marginal utility. Your utility decreases with every extra time you go. Economists are known for simplifying reality, so that's exactly what we're going to do here. Assume that there are only two choices you can make to spend your money: eating at the restaurant and going to the cinema. On your screen you can see a table in which the total utility and the marginal utility of going to the restaurant is depicted. The total satisfaction of a person is measured by the unit utils. If you go once, you get a total satisfaction of 140 utils. If you go twice, by 220 utils, and so on. What is more interesting is the marginal utility. This is the change in utility. For example, the change in utility between not going and going is 140. But the change in utility between going once and going twice is 80 utils, and so on. We can do the same thing for going to the cinema. You can see the table on your screen now. If you go once, you get a total satisfaction of 80 utils. If you go twice, by 120 utils, and so on. The change in utility between not going and going is 80, but the change in utility between going once and going twice is 40 utils, and so on. Now we can compare the two graphs to see how we can maximize our utility. We can use the marginal utility to make our decision. We go where our marginal utility is highest. So in this case we go to the restaurant because it has the highest marginal utility of 140. After that we will be indifferent between going to the restaurant and going to the cinema, meaning that we will get the same utility level from each of the two consumption options. But this is only the case when the price of the two options is the same. Now, let's say the price of the restaurant is $20 and the price of the cinema is $10. How does this change our consumption? On your screen you can see the table for the marginal utility and the marginal utility divided by the price for both the restaurant and the cinema. Marginal utility divided by price is known as marginal utility per dollar. Remember that the price of the restaurant is $20 and the price of the cinema is $10. If you have $40, what maximizes utility? And what utility will you get? You will first go to the cinema, as this gives you the highest utility per dollar at 8. You spend $10. After that you will go to the restaurant, as the utility per dollar of 7 is the highest remaining utility per dollar. You spend $20 for this. But what would you do next? Both the restaurant and the cinema have a utility per dollar of 4 now. Think about it for a second. Very good. You would go to the cinema because you don't have enough money remaining to go to the restaurant. In total you go to the cinema twice and to the restaurant once. Your utility will be 80 plus 140 plus 40 equals 260. This is because you go to the cinema first, which gives you a utility of 80. Then you go to the restaurant, which gives you a utility of 140. Lastly, you go to the cinema again, which gives you a utility of 40. That brings us to the end of the video. Remember to like and subscribe to my channel if you have learned something today. This would mean the absolute world to me. See you in my next video.